Cokey. Let's see where we are. I think I'm live. Hopefully I'm live. If anyone is on the stream, just let me know. You can hear my voice. And we'll get into it. Let's see what the day's got to bring us. We're on Wednesday, middle of the week. So let's see how we go, eh? So, let's start off. What do we want to start with? Let's go to the 4 hour actually. Let's see where we are. So clearly we've been fairly bearish, right? So let me just grip all of these really quickly. There's a lot going on there. What do we want to do here? Let's get rid of all these. Can't create a group there. Okay, let's just do that. Let's do this. Okay. Just tidying up my charts before we get going. Okay. Hey, Styler Motors, nice to see you here, buddy. Can we add them in too? Let's see. Something's not liked here, so is it the ghost feed? See what? Let me go like that. Let's add that into a group. And then lastly, there we go. Set that into a group. And there we go. Let's get everything off the screen. Nice and fresh. There we go. Okie dokie. So let's go. Let's zoom out a little bit. Let's see if we can analyze what's been going on the charts. Got myself a nice coffee, ready to rock and roll. Yeah, I agree. The market does feel a little bit uneasy right now. I mean, look, if we just look at our main swings here, you know, we're still printing higher highs and lower lows from a swing perspective. You know, this is obviously a larger time frame, but for me, it doesn't look like we've created too much of a deep correction yet. I mean, if we take, let's say, here to here, and let's just change this to our fib retracement, you can see on this one, on this initial move, we came to that 618. Now if we do that same to the next swing, let's just delete that a second. What does the next swing provide from here to here? Came to the 0.5, yeah, so we're in about 50% retracement from that one. And then on the last swing, where are we up to? Not quite at the 0.5 yet, so you'd assume, you know, that we do have some more downward momentum to still go. It doesn't feel like we've corrected enough. And the other thing you'd also probably say with this is each move up. Let me just get rid of these a second. Each of these moves up has really, started to slow down, right? So if you take that move there, you know, the humps are getting smaller, right? It feels like this last one is starting to die off a little bit. So I'd agree with you there. It does feel like we're kind of starting to bring in, but from my perspective, you know, I'm not thinking too much about the swings in terms of the larger moves at the moment. It's really about what opportunities are going to present themselves, at least for the day trades, and maybe, you know, hold a trade for a day or two. So let's dive into some of that, right? Let's just get rid of these points here. Let's look at focusing in on this zone here. So on the 4 hour, what can we see from this? What really sticks out to us in terms of the momentum? It's choppy, right, at best. It's not great price action if we're trying to trade this. Remember, let's go to the 4 hour actually. it's not great price action, is it? I mean, if I'm trying to figure out where my swings are on these, you know, I'm thinking, okay, well, we move to the upside, we create a higher low and then a higher high. Realistically, we didn't. If I draw this line here, we don't really break that until this point here. So it did provide at least this proportion of this entire, it was about a good week's worth of price action. It was very choppy, but I think what would have been great is that there'd have been plenty of opportunities in this to be able to trade, right? You still think it's going down to 15k? Interesting. let's have a little bit of a deep dive into that a bit later on. So what do we do then? Obviously we go print a new lower high and then a higher high here, then a lower low. It's not quite a lower low, but it's a, yeah, it is a lower low. It's lower than that one, and then we go here, and then finally we start to break down, right? So it's like once we break this here, what do we get? We get that change of character, right? For our SMC guys, you know, we get that kind of nice move, change of character. So now officially, from all of that move to the upside, from this big pump up here, we've now flipped bearish, right? And so we can start to map that momentum to the downside since we got that move. And so, you know, what was this? This was a low. Let's colour it red so it's nice and obvious. Then what do? Lower high, lower low. But then Bitcoin decides to do some more fuckery, right? Because instead of playing ball and thinking everything's great, like you're thinking, okay, we've started moving up, and now we've gone down. From a pure price action analytical perspective, it decides to change the narrative again, right? And then, so if that was our change of character there from that major swing or that major range that we were ranging for a while, we broke that down, created a change of character, created a lower high, which is great. Then we create that breaker structure there, right? So all things are seeming great. We have a nice swing range, right? Where's the highest point? The highest point between these 2 points is here, so that would have been our swing range. And so what we always anticipate is that the strong highs hold and the weak highs break. So this would have weak low. So this would have been this is what we would have called a weak low, right? This whole range here would have been an external weak low, and that's what we expect to break. What we don't anticipate to break is this here. So that would have been a change of character, right, to the upside. But as well as that change of character, the moment you get a change of character, you're anticipating that that's now a new strong high. And so that should, in theory, have held not just a liquidity sweep, external strong high. That would have been the moment we created this breaker structure here. That's our new traded range, right? Where we think, okay, really good idea to start shorting from this position, and not so much of a great idea to start longing from this position. Well, Bitcoin always has different ideas, right? It always wants to kind of flesh it out. Now, you could argue that that was not more than a liquidity grab. We are on the 4 hour. I'm pretty certain if we was to go even higher time frame, that would just shoot up and shoot back down again. However, lots of really good opportunities to trade, and we'll get into all of that. We'll look at some supply and demand zones in a second to see what happened. And so, you know, what happens then? Of course, we come down, we wick, we spend a little bit of time wicking here just to grab some liquidity. But now officially, at least the way I see it, is we flip bullish back again from that market structure. So, you know, everything was going bearish. The market structure gave us that indication by printing lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. Then we got a higher high. Okay, so what do we expect? This is our new... It's no longer a weak low, right? Because we've broken structure again to the upside. So this now becomes a strong high. sorry, a strong low, my apologies. And this would have been a weak high here. I'm not going to count the wick, to be honest, because that was a liquidity grab. I'll do it at the candle. And so we'll leave that green. That change of character was there. That's that first clue to us that the markets are shifting bullish, right? So I think style and motives, this is the news that you might want to see, my friend, right? So after all of that kind of bearish momentum down, this is our first clue that markets are starting to turn bullish again, okay? And if you look, actually, you know, the markets have always been bullish since December 2022. Higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, and now we're in that corrective phase. The question is this corrective phase over, or is this just a pullback from this main move here? We don't know that, and we're never going to know that. From my perspective, I'm only really interested in trading what's in front of me and what the current price action is telling me. Right now, it's telling me it is bullish, right? So what happens next? Create a new low, higher low, right? Higher than this previous reaction. How do we know that? Because then we broke this structure here, right? So no longer do we have a change of character. We now have a break of structure. That means we've confirmed that it's bullish. Market structure is bullish. I'm just going to show you what I mean by that. Just move that up there. Change of character. Sorry, my bad. Break of structure. So now officially, from a market price action perspective, that was our previous external strong high. Weak. What am I doing? That should have been weak high. And this is the strong low. So we expect, always, when we come to price action like this, we are always should be thinking that the weak will break and the strong will hold whenever we're relatively thinking about the market direction, right? So we're thinking the market direction is bullish, right? So we always should be having the idea that this is strong and will not break, right? The external weak high. Now that we're bullish, what do we anticipate? We anticipate the price action to do this, right? And keep going higher until price action tells us a different story. So we don't need to guess. There's no guesswork involved yet. Realistically, all we're thinking is, right, I now have a new high. Perfect. Where's my new traded range? Well, the moment we break that, we have to then go to the high. And then the point then is, where's the new low between here and here? It's this low there, right? And so there's our new swing trading range, right? All of this is our external swing range, and so we should only anticipate that this weak high should break, nothing else. The internal structure, which is all of this, doesn't really matter. All we're really thinking about is where's the value, right? So what do I mean by value? Well, if this is our traded range, denoted by the fact that we're making higher highs, higher lows, and now higher highs, you know, our value relative to that swing is here, right? So here is the value. Whenever price relative to the swing, remember that's a strong low. Expect that to hold. We should always expect that to hold. Here's the value. Here's the discount. And so, you know, the closer price action comes down to this zone here, the more favorable your price for getting that move to the upside and effectively breaking this weak high, right? That's the trading plan. That's the price action. That what we're being told based upon where we are with this move here. Then what we can do is obviously start getting a little bit more incremental, right? So if we dive into the 15-minute, what can we see here? Might look a little bit squashed, right? But let's just do some analysis, right? And then we'll talk a little bit about supply and demand and where potentially we might look for an opportunity. So price made a swing high. We accept that. Then we made a swing low, a internal low rather, not a swing low. Come back up to here to make a new high. But now because, okay, we've determined the swing. Make sure you kind of fully understand what I'm saying here. The major swing we've determined as bullish, right? But within the swing, on the 15-minute, we can absolutely have bearish momentum. And that's fine, because we know as traders, the main momentum is to the upside. So we're absolutely anticipating a price is going to come back into the fair value area where buyers will start to step into the market before price moves back to the upside, right? So we're expecting that. And when you trade with confidence, and look, this is Bitcoin, right? So nothing is ever certain, by the way. I'm not saying this definitely will never break. Of course it will break. It's just, we can only play what's in front of us, right? We're only focusing on what price is telling us and what market structure is telling us. We're not using any indicators. We're not using any kind of fancy widgets or anything. This is just pure price action trading, understanding where our value is, right? So the value is down here. And so we're anticipating on a pullback for liquidity purposes, because look, that was such a huge move up, right? Without any real test. Pretty much that was just a crazy move within, I don't know whether it was a few hours a day or whatever. So price has to come back down to fill all of these kinds of previous supplies, demand zones that wouldn't have been filled because price was so exponential. You know, a lot of the time when you get this kind of price action here, it leaves a lot of traders behind who wasn't able to fulfill at a specific price. Now, usually with central exchanges, they will try to always come back down to give people another opportunity to buy at these levels, because the initial big money came in quickly, wrapped through the order book, and again, was kind of unfair to a lot of traders. That's kind of just how the market, the central exchange algorithms that get performed often work. They will always come down and give you an opportunity. We're going to talk about how to spot them opportunities in a short while. But for now, you know, again, 15-minute, let's talk. So what are we looking for here? So we know, or we anticipate, the price is going to continue to make lower lows and lower highs. What we're looking for is, when do we get that change of character, right? When do we, on the smaller internal time frame, the structural time frame, where do we get to see that kind of clue, right, that we are starting to flip back into the swing momentum phase again? So right now, just making lower lows. I won't really classify that wick there. Now each time, what I should be doing is just creating that kind of, what's that? That would have been change of character, right? It's the first time from the up move that we've moved down. There's your change of character. Then what do we get? We got a nice break of structure here for the continuation of this move down. There's our new internal swing. So we do that again. Okay, that's another break of structure. So we are certainly bearish, right? But what happens then is our swing range, right? Internally, if I was to move price back to here, we'd have had a change of character here, right? So that point, which was the swing, the internal high at that point, because that's that little mini. So when we're thinking about day trades, is our traded range, right? It's just this little area here, and we don't really care what price does at these points, because, you know, when we're trading live, we can see this in live. It's just, I'm just reviewing this kind of as it were back then, but we'll talk about where we are right now in a short while. So this would have been that change of character, and so we would have thought in our heads, okay, we had to change of character for a move to the upside, so now we have a new range. But again, it's Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin just does a lot of weird and wonderful things. Like, for example, this might have been nothing more than a liquidity grab, because, you know, you've got, think about it, all of these zones here, lots of highs, right? So lots of people putting stop losses and all of that kind of good stuff here for the move down, expecting, if they're not familiar with price action and market structure in general, thinking that Bitcoin's going to tank And so Bitcoin, of course, comes up, claims that liquidity, and then comes back down. You're always going to get that. So even though you're thinking you're monitoring your price action well, and you've kind of understood what's going on, always remember that liquidity is what drives the market. And so when you're getting these moves, you're always going to see that. So that for me was just one big squeeze, and then prices come back down. Because where do we anticipate price to go? We're going to talk about that, but it can go lower before we start to go high. And I just like having the confidence of trading in this way, because why not? Because you can see the swing. When you understand the swing, you understand where price is more likely to go, to gravitate towards, to get that kind of juice to start moving up again, right? So we made that high, and then of course we make that low. This is that realignment back into that internal structure, make another high. Well, here's just something for you, right? We physically cannot. Our internal range now, right, is here as we see it today. Right now is live. There's our swing, our internal low. Let's just make that a note. And so is that going to be weak, or is that going to be strong? Do we expect this to break, or do we expect this to hold? We expect it to break, right, because it's internal weak structure, i.e. we are moving bearish, so we only anticipate the highs to hold and the lows to break. So this is internal weak low. Where's the high? Well, it's the last high of the range, right? So we just map that one out as well. There's our range there. And this is the strong internal high. So this is our range. So we're looking, if we're day trading, we're looking for value in and around these areas, right? We anticipate price to eventually work its way down to a specific area, which we're going to go over in a second. But again, we can quite easily do the same thing here by just understanding where the value is. And so we might anticipate that price comes back up to here before moving down. Let's talk about where the supply and demand area is for these bigger areas, right? To do that, we have to go to the 2 hour. Let me just do a little quick theory lesson, right? So if we take this candle here, I'm just trying to grab that. So we'll do that. And we'll do that. And then we'll just do a couple of wicks. In fact, we won't have that there. Have that there. So whenever we talk about excess, right, it's where there's often a disproportion between buyers and sellers. So much so that we have, the order book is just so thin between the price levels that price just absolutely smashes through. Now that's usually indicative of bigger players, just placing big orders, market orders, and aggressively pushing price down. What that often means is that people between these zones don't really have a fair advantage if bigger players have stepped into the market. And so, again, what I was saying to you before is price will always try to come back to fill in these zones, right? Just because what they often will find is that there's a lot of resting orders, limit orders that are in these zones. So sometimes the limit orders won't get filled if the market aggression has been so fast that a lot of slippage has occurred and prices just volleyed down. And so that's why always we should anticipate that the market will at some point, not always, there's a caveat to that, but not always, but more often than not will come back to fill these zones. And what we do to gain an edge on the market is two things actually. Number one, we have to anticipate and understand the swing range, right? Where is the value? Are we below value or above value? Because if we're trading from the top side of the swing and we're expecting for it to break, I'm not going to start shorting at that zone. you might as well just be giving your money directly back to the market maker, because you are going to be that liquidity, right? So you want to stay away from that. So that's our first edge, understanding where we are relative to market price action. And the second swing is knowing that price will oftentimes try and come back to fill these zones. So where do we want to get in on these areas? Where is the optimal place, whether this is a supply or a demand zone? Well, what you'll tend to find more often than not, that the market, let's just give this a bit of clarity, right? So let's make that nice red to denote bearish behavior. So if this is our imbalance where the excess was created, where we want to focus and target isn't that excess, but actually the candle that created it, right? You'd always want to go between the two wicks, because price will sometimes, or more often than not, you know, kind of, okay, snap up to this zone here and then snap down. But again, whenever we're talking about this, we've got to be mindful of the relative strength of the market, right? What I mean by that is, if we are bearish and we continue to be bearish, then absolutely this is the perfect area to get into, because we looked at the main structure, we look where we are relative to the swing, and we know that when price comes up to the ear, there's a higher likelihood that price is going to continue down. However, if that market is the opposite way around, like on this value, if we have gaps here in this zone, right? What are we on now, the 2 hour? And I'm anticipating that this is the strong low and this is the weak high, and I expect that that weak high is going to break. I'm not going to be looking for entries up here for shorting once we've already come down here, because its probabilities are just against us. It's trading from a sign of weakness, right, rather than strength. And so we really only want to be focusing on shorts when we're down in this zone. Sorry, longs when we're down in this zone, and shorts when we're up in this zone, only if this is a brand new swing and we're relatively new, we haven't really came up to here, and we're gonna, so let's dive into it, right? I'm just gonna take you some of this stuff off the chart real quick. So we've mapped out our kind of internal process, what we're seeing at the moment. I still think price is gonna come down. Can anyone spot where we have that same position? I'm gonna give you a clue. Right, so what we're looking for is, where do we have excess in the market, which drives our internal narrative, right? So what are we expecting? We're expecting that this is going to hold because it's the swing range, right? Denoted by the fact that we've now flipped bullish, and so we know we have excess here, right? It's there, it's clear. There's excess. If I just, this is the 2 hour candle, right? So this, we think, right, from our analysis, that price is going to want to come down. It's already tapped it once, right? It's actually tapped it a few times, hasn't closed that gap. And so where do we really want to think about getting our orders in? Well, realistically, we want to get in somewhere down here, right? We want the strong low to do its job, right, to hold. But we know that anywhere in this area is a good area to start longing from, right? Because this is the area which would, number one, close that inefficiency or that excess and give the traders who didn't have an opportunity prior to have an opportunity to buy. So we know that this is going to be a huge demand area, right? This is going to be an area where there'll be a lot of buyers who want to step into the market for that continuation of the move up. And that's all it really is. That's as simple as we need to be with trading. Number one, just understanding the market dynamics, bias, where are we relative to the swing? Right now we're into that kind of really discounted zone. And so we absolutely expect that strong low to hold. And then we're going to target that weak high. We only really want to target that weak high though once we've come into this zone, right? This is the demand zone that I'm really waiting to see. And even though we've had these kind of moves to the upside, I'm still anticipating that we're going to come down to collect this, because liquidity is food for the market, right? Everyone knows that, you know, exchanges are just constantly trying to find those pools of liquidity, and it's why after that huge move up, we've just slowly meandered our way down into this area here. So as to where that entry would be, it's anyone's guess. I mean, look, I tend to not be too risky. I always want at least a 5-to-1 risk to reward. And so, you know, if you're kind of looking at this zone, there's not a lot of liquidity down here, right? So we can almost expect that price shouldn't break this zone here. And in fact, you know, we should target that weak high. Now, we might have to be in this for a fair amount of time. There's a couple of things I like to do here, right? So right now, this is only a 4-to-1 risk to reward. And so I can, if I want, bring this down until my risk to reward goes to 5. My position size is still the same relative to my stop loss. So if I'm risking $100 for this trade, or $200 or $50 or $10, whatever that is, the distance between my entry and my stop will be $10 loss, but my risk to reward would be, well, 5-to-1. So if it was $100, that would be a $500 win trade. If I lost, that'd be a $100 loss trade there. But I'm trading from a sign of strength, right? I'm only thinking about strength at this point. So that's kind of my trading plan at this moment in time. I'm just waiting for price to come in. Now look, where did the week start? Started kind of down here, right? We've been bearish. Now usually market dynamics likes to go like that, right? A kind of W formation, and this is that we're kind of in this Wednesday middle day move, and so we've got a lot of things riding on our side now. Being bearish Monday, Tuesday into Wednesday, so we can still anticipate further moves down for that correction back to the upside. Okay, that's BTC. Does anyone want to call out some altcoins? Should we do some? Should we have a little bit of fun on altcoins? Anyone got anything they'd like to see? Let me just see who's currently on the live. Yeah, let's go into there. We have a couple of people. What have been going? Not too long actually. Matic, let's do Matic, my friends. Let's see where we are on Matic. So always remember, right, because we understand where we are relative to Bitcoin, that we can be a little bit more confident in what we think might happen to Matic. Jesus Christ. Let me just delete where we are with Matic so we can go fresh. Right, so let's go to the 4 hour. Okay, so where's the swing? Right, so this is swing high, swing low, lower low. So unfortunately with Matic, right, we expect Matic to break. Right, there's that low. So that, because we are bearish and I've seen nothing to represent any bullish momentum right now, so we only have to trade what's in front of us, right? So let's make this is a weak low. Where is the bar? Oh, it's here, sorry. That is an external weak low. Here's our high. This is just so straightforward and simple. It's great to just easily understand your market dynamics like this. Is a weak high, strong high. So we expect that to hold, right? Where are we relative to the swing? Hi, Astan. Nice to have you here, buddy. Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? Because up here would have been the opportunity. Do we see any opportunities in terms of so no, I mean, look, we have this here, right? There's a supply zone there, right? Supply, because we expect sellers to step in here. But we haven't even came close to that yet on that 4 hour. But the candle that we would want to target is here, right? The one that started it off. So this would be where I would look for a short, because it's the strong high. We expect that that's it. We always expect the external strong high to hold. It's a difficult one, this, right? But here's what I think can happen with with Matic. Because I believe Bitcoin should hold its strong low. Okay, we've seen a lot of kind of bearish momentum constantly creating lower lows and lower highs. If Bitcoin flips bearish like we anticipate, bullish like we anticipate, then that could be a good opportunity, right? Because we might see that, let me just see if we've got any excess down here to the buy side. We have. Only small, but we definitely have. You can see here, this little inefficiency between there. It's only tiny, but this is on the 4 hour, right? Should we zoom in a little bit there? Let's make that green. But we definitely have some, because I'm linked directly to my, let me see, there you go, better. So this could be a potential buy opportunity right down here if Matter keeps coming down, because that is the efficiency, but this is the candle that created it, right? So we'd want to target that. That is our demand zone for where we expect some sort of reaction. I'm not really going to classify that area here because it's just a wick. And so, you know, if I'm thinking about Matic and thinking about Bitcoin, this is a bit of a traded range, right? We are heavily into buying discounts as territory, so we could anticipate a move into this demand zone here, right? So, you know, keep if you're going to trade it, you know, keep it nice and tidy. Just, you want to go to the top of the demand zone. You want your stop right near the bottom of that demand zone. Maybe just reducing it to the liquidity zone here, and then targeting, right? Because I don't think I would just target the supply zone at the top, and that would be a nice move. That would be a 7 risk to reward. Whatever you're risking, if it was $50 or $100, you know, whatever's in your kind of trading risk analysis, that's what I would be looking to do with Matic. You know, we are macro bearish. However, I do believe that Bitcoin is macro bullish. So something to consider. Any more altcoins? Anyone else want to give us an altcoin to look at? The good thing about this as well, whenever we're talking about, like, you know, creating these market dynamics where we're internally we're looking at lower lows and lower highs, lower lows, lower highs. What you're looking for really is that that change of character on the lower time frames, right? So on the 15-minute, get rid of this. I mean, that's just horrible price action, isn't it? That's just really boring price action. It's difficult. The only thing I would probably, it's worth the risk is the sense that, you know, this is a demand zone. This is where you expect buyers to step in. It's just obviously hoping that BTC does what we anticipate for it to do. And so if it does do what we want it to do, then that would be a stunning move from Matic. So you're looking kind of around that 0.5818. Go back to the 4 hour. Let's have a look. Some other altcoins. You know what I always like to trade? I like to trade Atom. Atom's a nice token to trade. Let's see what Atom's doing. That's following everything else, isn't it, really? Same again though. There's your low. It's a weak low. Get rid of that. This is a strong high. So we should always just anticipate that the lows will break. But again, if I'm looking, a lot of these altcoins are doing the same thing. But remember, look, the reality is a lot of these, you know, will follow Bitcoin to the extent, but a lot of it, I mean, look, because we've been bearish for such a long time on the, I mean, look at that, we've already tapped that inefficiency, right? So it'll be interesting to see what we see. That is that inefficiency zone on the 4 hour, and you can see we got a reaction, right? We got a reaction from that zone. It wasn't huge, maybe a 1-to-1 risk to reward, but price is coming back down. So the reason that happens is because even though it's a demand zone where buyers are stepping in, the markets are bearish, right? So we should anticipate that we could theoretically get a liquidity grab. I'm just speaking relative to Bitcoin here, right? Because I'm anticipating, based on Bitcoin, that we are going to start moving up, right? Because here's our narrative. We're really waiting for Bitcoin to come into this area because we flipped bullish. And so that's what we should always anticipate. Okay. Are there any more coins that you'd like me to look at before we wrap this one up for today? If you're not in my Discord server, by the way, guys, I think you are Style and Motives, but Astan, feel free to come and join the Discord server, my friend. Link is in the description. Be nice to kind of have you over. Other than that, guys, if you're happy enough, I will leave this one here and I will say goodbye, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out, brothers.